Good morning. It's September 18th. Obviously, the Fed's actions on Wednesday in terms of the Q&A, the revised dot plot, any kind of tea leaves that people could read into in terms of one, are there going to be any more 25 basis point hikes this year? And then two, what is going to be the pause/pivot schedule into 2024? Those are the two areas everyone's going to be focused on. So it's not surprising that it's a little bit choppy this morning as people await the really important information and tea leaves that they're going to be reading. So let's head over to the Longbow dashboard. We can kind of see around the world what's going on. If you had our Longbow arrows this morning, we talked a little bit what's going on in Europe, a little bit what's going on in Asia. But this will really set the course for you this week to know where some of those trading ranges are with some ETFs. So if we head over there, I'm going to take a look at the SPY first. That's the one that is oversold. So note that the low end of the range is 443.06 for the SPY. Top end of the range, 453.19. You have odds 2.3 to 1 to the upside here. It's short-term neutral though, and medium-term bullish. So obviously with August into September, sorry about that. Let's get that back here. Let's take a look at the SPY. And you can see, gosh, it's been bullish really all year, but once we hit August in the air pocket there, we've had a bit of a rebound, but here we are at the low end of the trading range. People are pretty nervous about earnings season, the Fed, central banks, growth trajectories, inflation with energy being up. That's another reason for a little bit of caution this week, but you can see why it is oversold. So then let's look at the Qs. We're really near that level of being oversold. So if you've been itching to get into technology, the odds, this is really just because there's not much downside to get to the low end of the trading range. So don't put too much stock into that. You really need it to be in the middle of the range for you to care about that number like we see here. And then you've got neutral short term just along. Obviously, the Qs have been driving the SPY all year round with the bullish medium term for the same reason. You don't really have much applied volatility and premium or discount going on. The Russell, though, is a really different story. So for small caps, it's been bearish this year. As you know, when you hit pricing pressure, when you have a lot of leverage, when you don't have oftentimes a lot of diversification, those types of businesses don't do as well. So we're seeing bearish there, and a little bit of a implied volatility premium. It's still in the middle of the range, though, so you're not really getting any kind of opportunity to even think about whether the top or lower end of the range. China, neutral. Brazil, nearing the top end of the range, but it's not quite there yet. That's one of the two areas here internationally that we point out that's been bullish in the short run and bullish in the medium term. We've written about in the arrows why Brazil is important. It's one of the key beneficiaries of the U.S.'s fight with China. So take stock of that. People are pretty neutrally positioned on the options there. It's a market we're invested in. It's a market that we like. Similarly, in Mexico, though, it's been bearish, both short-term and medium-term. So caution there if you're heading towards the low end of the range. Japan, again, one of the only other areas that's been bullish short-term, bullish medium-term. It's sitting in the middle of the range, though. You have kind of an even shot up and down. Nothing to do on Japan and IFA overall, of which Japan is a big part of. The U.S., remember, is not part of IFA. So that's developed markets, ex-US, sitting, pretty much in the middle of the range. It was bearish medium term because of a lot of the pressures on the Eurozone, Canada, Australia, but in the short term, it's been a little bit more neutral. So if we take a look at that here, you really came at the end of 2022, really tough market last year. It bounced up into 2023. Remember, it was one of the earlier bounce backs along with China from the fall, but then it's lost its luster. A lot of the growth issues, today, even though it's not part of the Eurozone, we talked a little bit about the UK housing issues, really high inflation there. So that puts a damper on it. Germany's been putting a damper on it. So lots of reasons to be cautious on the IFA, but we will caution that valuations there relative to the rest of the world are pretty cheap. So once they do get their act together, then you probably will see that being a better reversal at some point, but we're pretty cautious right now on the Eurozone. We do have positions in our long only bucks, but we would caution it's neutral here short term. bearish medium term, and you really have to pick your companies, pick your spots where you're playing there. So that's your setup for this week. We'll catch you tomorrow and fill you on some of the really key securities as trends that we're seeing through the Longbow dashboard. Thanks.